welcome to the Footy with Mates, folks. It's Saturday the 7th Saturday. And you know what that means? We're deep in September now. And that's when we get the real rip-snorting footy fans in. The true blue bastards. The ones who breathe footy. Please welcome Zack from Auntie Donna.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
And the Mission Zack pod.
Hey, great promo for Mission
very
Zack.
good.
And
Grouse House.
Grouse House. And anything else you want to...
I do screenings at the Lido.
Get down to the Lido.
Down in Hawthorne. I screen fun movies.
Put on your liniment. Get a pie on the way in. And what are you screening this week?
The 7th. So yeah, in 1 week I'm doing a screening of Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh, Kung Fu Hustle.
Apropos for your sports podcast, same director as Shaolin Soccer.
Yeah, the Shaw Soccer. They don't use their hands. But Zack, thank you for coming on. It's been a year since you've been here. Do you remember the last time you were on this podcast?
Yeah, I was talking tips. I was doing the deep insights into the teams. Mark was doing a different bit. We had contrasting bits.
Yes. Do you remember what city we were in?
No.
We were. Do you have any idea? You know what country we were in?
Possibly America. Either America or Queensland.
I think I remember.
You reckon you remember?
Yeah, can I have a guess?
Yeah.
We're in Manchester?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is in England. The home of Oasis.
Who are returning.
Who are returning.
Can I say this is an honour? Thank you so much for having me on the football with Broden Kelly. I can't wait to talk about the football with you all.
Now, you voiced some reservations about this audience and whether whether they'd be okay with a movie buff as opposed to a footy fan. They're like, hey, it's September, but they don't know that one of the main things that people talk to you about is episode 167 of the Auntie Donna podcast, where you had finals fever.
And I've got it again. I must say, I've got finals fever. I'm. It's like, you know how one might get infected by a virus or a disease. I've been infected with excitement for the football final season. Top
8 things about the finals and the finals fever and how it makes you feel.
That's a great question. I love a setup like that. What do I love? I love the atmosphere. I love the vibe. You know, I think you've got a lot of people it can be a divisive game. You know, we love the game.
He's locked in. Locked in.
We love the game here at the football, but really in Melbourne, we're a football city.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think so many people love the game, but they love their team more. And what you see is when you start to see people, maybe falling out of, they're not in the finals, their teams aren't in the finals. They kind of, I see there's a moment, there's a bit of tension. We all saw your video on Instagram. There's that moment of tension. They're a little bit upset, and then they go, you know what? I'm not in this because of my team. I'm in this because of the love of the game. And you see people drop that pretense, except for those final 2. That can be a little intense. You see people drop that pretense, and they embrace the game that they love, and that's what I love to see. Number 1. Number 2. Can't go past a meat pie at the football oval.
Well, that's a good place. That's a great place to pivot because you went to the football this year.
Yes, I did. Yes,
just the one game? No, a few times.
I, as you know, I'm a hardened Essendon member.
Yeah, you bleed red, and
I bleed red and black. You bleed blue and red. You bleed orange and
Yellowy
red.
Yeah.
Red, sort of a bright, an orange sort of. And I bleed red and black because I love the Bombers. I always have.
The parts of the body where the deepest blood is, it's almost black, they say. Black blood can be black.
And that's true of the Bombers. Look at this Sharon football, the brand of football that we all know and love. Red and black.
Do you know
what 2 colours are more AFL football than red and black?
Green, maybe, the grass.
You're going to have a lot of Collingwood supporters saying white and black. Yeah, when I hear white and black, I think Juventus because I'm a worldly man. I don't think AFL football. When I hear red and black, I just see those Bombers running onto the field. And that's number 2 for finals fever.
Well, you said meat pie.
Oh, no, so that's number 3 then.
But I want to talk about, let's pivot for a second. We'll come back to the list. Don't worry about that. But when you went to, I know you went to Essendon, Melbourne?
Yeah. That's one of the games I went to. I'm sticking to
Let's just pick one. Let's pick a random one that you went to because you went to so many.
Yeah. One that I published. Yes.
The one that you went public about.
Yeah.
Why did you go?
Why did I go? Because I love FOOTBALL.
Football.
I love football. And I just wanted to see, it was just the game that week. Someone had some free tickets.
Yeah, great. Now, what did you eat at the game?
I had, do you know what it was? I remembered you talking about, because my sister went and got like a shit burger and she was like, oh, this is shit. And then I remember you talking about how they had
Royal Stacks?
Royal Stacks. And then I went looking for Royal Stacks. I did miss about a quarter of the game looking for Royal Stacks though, so what a shame.
It's not the same Royal Stacks though, is it? It's almost like a paint by numbers situation. It's not like the one that's down the road from here where they're cooking them boys fresh.
Yeah, no, it's but it's better than the other stuff, And I had a burnt coffee, and I sat there, and quite a boring game.
Yeah, no, that's more to do with Melbourne and the way that they've gone about their brand and identity than it is. If you went on Friday and if you went last night, you would have seen the sport at its true heights. We all loved that game.
I did go to that. Yeah,
You went last night to the Friday Hawthorn versus Bulldogs game. What did you like about that game?
Well, what didn't I like? You're seeing two teams really at their personal best. You're seeing two teams that have taken very different strategies over the last 10 years.
It's so true. One's a complete bottom out. Let's see how long you can do this. Let's see. So one, yes, in Hawthorn, you're seeing a full, almost a rebuild, a quick rebuild with a new coach. And on the other side, you're seeing what happens if you lock in and you just incrementally reload. And
I think we saw that with Hawthorn. There was a lot of doubters. They were saying they're going too fast, they're going too hard. The players, the recruitment, the players they're getting on board, by the time the team has rebuilt, these players will be too old. But what you're seeing here is, well, no, they still had the infrastructure from when they were a stronger team. They still had that kind of Hawthorn. They still had that team spirit. They inserted the great players in, and what we're getting is a team that's really, I think, very exciting. And I think we've got a couple of years of a great team there, in my opinion.
So you've started. That's your first bluff through.
All you got to say is, in my opinion. And
that's that. I give that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think very close. They brought in a lot of young players. That's the only misstep you had.
No, but I think that you can't. You got to hedge your bets here, and that's what we were seeing. And I think
is this how you did VCE? Like just sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how I did VCE. This is how I did university.
There's so many points about Shakespeare that we could discuss.
In my opinion, he was very good. I wanted to ask you about the curtain raiser last night, though.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Did you feel like it worked?
What was your issue with it?
No, it's just it wasn't ideal with the Dogs wanted to relaunch Whitten Oval, but obviously they had to move it to the Friday night.
Look, I think finals, there is so many things, there are so many moving parts this time of year. There is so much going on right now. To try and make, and this is what I was talking about earlier, to try and make something about your team and your team's history at this time of year, I think that's a folly in the first place. And really I said that, I'm on the record of having said that before any of this went down.
On SEN,
when I was on SEN. I just think it's not the time. Do it in the preseason. Do it any other time but finals. It felt like, you're not going to get that extra support outside of the team. You're not going to get that extra support from the AFL because they're focused on other things.
You're bang on. It's not a positive, but you're bang on.
This is.
What did you think of the winning team last night? The team who won?
Yeah, great question. Ultimately, we can talk about coaching, we can talk about recruitment, we can talk about players, we can talk about strategy, we can talk about clubs, we can talk about membership. When push comes to shove, you've just got a group of boys on that field playing a game. And what we saw was just really good playing. What we saw was, I think that was ultimately the only thing. You've got two teams with very different strategies, very different histories, very different 5-10 years up until this point.
Yeah.
The only thing that kind of came down to it was that couple of hours on the field. And, God, some of those plays were, I think, some of the best we've seen.
Ever?
At least in the last couple of years.
In your opinion?
I think, yeah, absolutely. Just, God, if the Brownlows hadn't have already happened, they'd be getting a few 1s, 2s and 3s.
Yeah, they would be, but they don't, do they?
Maybe they do for the next one. I don't know. It's falling apart. Come on.
Now, you're talking about the food. So Geelong, at their stadium, GMHBA, they're on so they are it's called, some people rudely call it pork barrel, call it Pork Barrel Stadium, because a marginal seat of Geelong, whatever seat that is, they get a lot of government.
Isn't that a cruel irony? You must be furious. We've got that cliche around Melbourne fans, and you must be furious that the Geelong fans are getting what you probably want when you go and see your football. Sorry to be a bit teasing and fun, but in your little knitted vintage Melbourne Guernsey, you probably want the kind of food they've got out there.
Well, that's the thing. I am upset. Do you know what they have at their new stadium?
Yep.
Yes, you do. A chin-chin, yes. Yeah. They have a chin-chin in the stadium.
Crazy.
What do you think of a chin-chin in a GMHBA in Geelong?
Well, I mean, who's eating that chin-chin? This is the thing. I've been lucky enough in my career.
You've been to chin-chin?
I've been to chin-chin. I've been lucky enough to watch games from so many different parts of that stadium, those stadiums. I've been able to be there, and I've been there with the free beers and the free party pies. And you know what? I look around. I look around.
Bluffing through this entire
podcast, and I see
no context whatsoever.
I see guys in
suits. Been watching Shaolin's football.
I see guys in suits. I see guys that have the money to be able to afford that booth, that box.
Yeah.
But they don't love the game. And I've been to those places, and I think Chin Chin's probably going to be the same. Eating a nice restaurant meal. That's not where I want to be when I'm watching the footy.
Do you know?
Give me a pie. Give me a beer.
Do you know how much a box costs at the MCG? Because I found out the number.
I'm sure it's an insane amount.
It's like 300 grand to get it for the year, from January 1st through. And then every event that you book it for, it's like 6 grand for that.
Now, who's buying that? Is that a real true blue Aussie football fan, or is that someone who's just doing it for the corporate reasons,
Corporate reasons, yeah.
That's not where the football lives. That's not why I want to go to the football. So I see a similar thing. Like, who's coming to eat Chin Chin? I love Chin Chin, but why would I want it in a stadium?
I don't love Chin Chin.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I've never been.
It's fusion, isn't it?
Fusion, yeah.
It's all right.
It's pretty good.
We should go to GMHBA, all three of us, and we'll find out.
Let's go. We'll go watch Geelong. We'll go Geelong, Melbourne.
Or Geelong Essendon. That would never happen there, unfortunately, because it's too big a fan base. Now, Tom, can you talk to him about when you had your first fancy food at the football a few weeks ago?
Oh.
Why are we talking about fancy food? Why aren't we talking about the game?
Well, the game is all the things. It's kings down to peasants.
That's true.
Zach.
That's true.
That's true. That's what I love about it. It's the great, democratic force. It's the great equalizer. Everyone loves football, from politicians. You're so right, from politicians to everyday folk. Except if it's bloody Collingwood, then it's just the everyday folk.
Do you mean when we had the barbecue?
Yeah.
There was a barbecue station, Zach, in the corporate box. It wasn't on the
fucking
corporate
kidding
box,
me?
it
That
was a
sounds
function.
sick as.
Yeah. So they had
I just
pulled
get some
pork,
barbecue and play
brisket.
Game Boy in the corner.
Yeah. It was
You watch
that
your
vibe.
fucking football.
Tell them about the scones.
Yeah, and then at halftime they had scones and
Oh, wow.
jam and cream and party pies, I think.
Yeah.
It was really nice. But the barbecue station was cool. They had like some burnt corn. Like, it was sort of like you got some rolls. You could make a sandwich if you wanted. Or you could just get some brisket, some pulled pork, just pile up a plate sort of stuff.
If I was a businessman, I would go back to my hometown and I would make a fancy barbecue place.
Yeah.
Because you would make so much. Outer suburbs, country towns, a fancy barbecue place with good barbecue food but like nice wine, you would make so much money because the wife or the girlfriend would be like, I want to go to a nice dinner, and the guy would be like, yeah, well, fucking I'll have a fucking barbecue.
Yeah.
You make so much money. Anyway, if anyone's listening who invests in restaurants, call me up, hit me up. I'd love talk. Thank you so much for having me on your football podcast.
Zachary, if you were because I think the way in to find new fans for a sport, the reason I can watch a little bit of baseball or I can watch a little bit of like NFL, sports that I don't traditionally follow, is I think storytelling that transcends out of just sport fans and goes into other areas.
We're talking Netflix series.
Netflix
Because
series.
I think we've hit the singularity on that, haven't we?
Moneyball.
Moneyball.
So
One
how
of my
would
favourite
you
films, Moneyball.
How would you go about telling an AFL film if someone came to you, Ted Sarandos, or
See, this is why I've avoided going on your podcast, because I'm so sorry, but any film I would tell about AFL is not the best.
well, that's
part of
great.
the
No, I want
industry.
that. What would you?
I would tell a film about Adam Goods.
Yes.
I would make a film.
Would you make it
It
fictional?
would be maybe, yeah, probably fictional. I would do it with him. I just think you talk about what football is, and football is a great microcosm of Australia.
It
and
is.
I think we saw. So yeah, that's what I would tell. I think it's a great illustration of the.
I remember when we were at 2014 Edinburgh. That was the year that it all kicked off with Goods, and I remember it was the first time I'd spent like a fair bit of time abroad. And was watching footy from overseas, and I remember just feeling so embarrassed, but being able to just being a step away from it and seeing it all just through, like, just from a distance, and feeling so fucking embarrassed by the whole thing. And there's two films about it that are both documentaries, and they both. Have you seen both?
I haven't. I should, but I haven't been able to. I can't. I've never been in the right headspace.
It's true, right? So like. They're both infuriating, but really important to watch.
Yeah.
One, I can't remember the names, and I will look them up and say them shortly. But one is just footage. You know that classic documentary model where it's
I
just
love that type. That's an underutilized documentary.
so literally just shows footage after footage after footage. Just story tells all the way through, and it shows different commentaries happening different times. Sam Newman doing what he does. And just matter of factly goes, here's what happened, and make your own decision. There's another one about JFK. That's like every bit of footage from JFK, like the day of the Dallas shooting, all the way through to like, it just keeps chronologically showing to the point where it's showing Simpsons footage and it's showing...
Totally off topic, but I wasn't crazy about the Woodstock 99 documentary that
neither.
Netflix did, partly because they were trying to make it, they did it in the Netflix style. I think they should have done it in that style. Just
quite
show the
didactic,
footage,
wasn't it?
Just show the footage of that 3 days. That's all you need. So the names of the documentaries are The Australian Dream and The Final Quarter.
Yeah.
The Australian Dream, I mean, already that title fucking breaks my heart in half.
Yeah.
And I think I was able to convince myself until the referendum that was just your world.
Yeah.
And it was a problem with your world and your scene, and you guys had to figure it out. And then I was confronted with the fact that no, football is a microcosm of Australia as a whole, and it breaks my heart.
And he's still removed entirely from that in any way. He
disgusting
doesn't
the
want
way he
anything
was
to do with
treated.
it, and he's still one of the best footy players, and it's horrible. So you do that?
Yeah.
What about like
Sorry to not be
what
funny
about-
there. That's
what about like a,
there's a real tone there of like, I don't think you want to know.
what about like a Mighty Ducks one?
Oh yeah. No, you make that one.
I feel like because like there's good, like what's good about Moneyball is you barely see any sport.
Do you know what I would do if I was a cynical AFL person trying to do a thing?
Yep.
I would do Village Roadshow, Happy Penguin style. It would be about
Happy Feet.
It would be about an American. Is there any Americans that have been brought over? True stories
Correct.
of Americans that have been brought over, or Irish that's brought over? Someone that's brought over.
Oh mate,
You tell the story of like Jim
Steins.
Steins, or an American, and it's their story of like they're from a completely different place, a completely different world, a completely different sporting culture, thrown into this world, thrown into this culture. That's the film I would do.
Unfortunately, there is. His name is Mason Cox, and he is from Texas, right? And he was a basketball player, and he was no good at basketball. And he became at college. His job was to stand and defend for the good women college players, like because he wasn't good enough at basketball. And then he heard about this sport and came down here, and he had the whole MCG chanting USA.
Yeah.
So that's your in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
He wears
Him or Jim
goggles.
Steins. I would go the Jim Steins because America always feels a bit fake.
Yes.
But the idea of then you can talk about the sport. You can do scenes where they're like, this is how it works.
I always like the other approach you could do is the because one of my favorite sport films of all time, probably films of all time, is Bend It Like Beckham, which is just uses the sport thing to talk about everything else around. But great soundtrack as well. Good one.
Yeah, because David Beckham's barely in that film.
He's not in it
not
at
in
all.
it.
That's
No.
a body double.
I
Yeah,
think
right.
deliberately they just went, let's just take this very sellable name
Yeah.
and profit of it because it's not about him at
Yeah,
all.
so
They just
you
go,
could call it like Bounce the Pill like Pendlebury.
yeah.
Sure. I have no idea what that means, but
That's Broden's catchphrase is Bounce that pill. A pill is a football.
Bounce
okay.
that Pendlebury.
bounce the
Yeah.
Pendlebury like the pill. I don't think you have to go so slavishly to the bend it like Beckham model.
Let's go through. There's 8 teams. Well, there's now 7
Oh, yeah, we're
teams
talking.
left.
Am I back to bluffing?
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed that brief sojourn into film and cinema.
Yes, this is a brief little holiday over.
And now let's get.
Well, I wanted to
bluffing.
capture all of Zack. There's the silly Zack, but there's also the thoughtful Zack, and there's the film-loving Zack, and there's the beanie-wearing Zack.
I'm wearing a beanie.
And
I
there's-
don't think I needed to bring up like the deep history of racism. in
That
this
is
country.
well, no. I think it would be what happens often in Australian media, particularly footy media, is they just go too hard, don't touch that.
Yeah.
And what it should be is out in the open and be able to go to it occasionally and
to
then
talk
drift
about
away
it.
from it. And it should just be part of the DNA, the opening, the sharing of it.
Hey, great point.
So-
I'm really set on my Irish Gaelic football player film. It's the most full Monty film. Sorry, I'm set on this, but this
Nah,
is
Full Monty's
this is
good.
genuinely a great film. You get like it's in the 90s.
Yeah,
but you get
fuck
like
yeah.
like a fucking Jamie Dornan.
Yeah.
You just do that one that he did.
Well, then, because Jim Stones came over in the late 80s.
It doesn't have to be him, but
Yeah.
set it in the late.
But then,
80s.
like, yeah, just if you can make it about the Civil War in some way, if you can make it about the North and South, North of Republic and all of that in some vague way, then you're on your way.
and then it's all rainy and grey, and then he comes to Melbourne, sunny, beautiful Melbourne.
You know what's very much happening in the W now is the best, like a large proportion of the best players in the women's are Irish.
yeah, that makes
And when we were in Dublin,
Have they just invested for longer in their
I turned the TV on Saturday morning, the day we were performing, and there was just AFLW was on because they care about it so much, and they're all so good to the point where if they made an international, you remember international
I
rules?
do, yes.
Where if they could do a women's international, Ireland versus Australia, Ireland would maybe win. So that's fucking sick. And they're all more that's interesting. It'd be fun. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 4 games happening this weekend, Zach.
Yes, there are.
2 have happened.
Yes, well, this is coming out on a Saturday.
So let's talk about who won and why it was great. So Port and Cats on Thursday night. Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval against Geelong. What did you think of this game? It's good that the finals finally arrived. It had the energy, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think on paper, it definitely had that energy.
On paper, yeah. On paper.
How much should we reveal we are recording this on Tuesday?
No, not at all. Don't
I
say
think
it at all.
the double bluff is very fun to me. All right, yeah. So on paper, yeah, finals were there. We saw some really interesting moments. I think we knew who was going to win from pretty early on.
That's true.
You know, I think we knew how that was going to play out from quite early on. I don't know. I just thought we would see a bit more fucking
Fire. That's such a
Fire.
good point about them. Now they've got a second chance, and they'll be coming up against the winner of Brisbane Carlton, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
about Brisbane Carlton, which has happened already.
No, that's today.
That's today. So I haven't seen it yet.
No.
Brisbane and Carlton. That's a great question. Look, I think that if you were to just look at the stats, there would be a clear winner.
Yes.
But that's just,
Brisbane.
you know, yes. Sorry, I should have specified that. Yeah, no, I think if we just looked at the stats, you would see Brisbane emerging. I think Brisbane versus Carlton. Yeah. I think what we've seen from Carlton, particularly over the last few games, whether they've won or lost, we've seen a fire. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I love about finals. You know, we could just do the whole who won the most games, who got the most points, no finals, no grand finals, but we don't. It's about who is the best player on this day,
On that day.
in this hour. And I think what we might see from Carlton is a bit of that fire, a bit of that. If Carlton can treat this like it's a last chance, even though it's not, if they can approach this like it's a last chance, I think we might see a very surprising result.
And lastly, the Battle of the Bridge this afternoon.
The bridge, the bridge.
The Battle of the
Why do we
Bridge.
call it the Battle of the Bridge? I'm going to mask off. I don't know a lot about football, guys.
Well, it's the Battle of Sydney Swans versus their crosstown rivals, the GWS Giants.
Oh, I see.
But it's not the
Harbour Bridge.
It's the ANZ Bridge.
Because that's the bridge between Homebush and SCG.
You know when
Yeah, something like that.
500 years ago when people had battles on bridges, they fucking stabbed each other with swords. What the fuck is this shit?
It's just a nice turn of phrase, really. Do you know what they call the Brisbane one? They call the Queensland, when the two rivals of the city play each other, I'll start with
Is
Perth.
that the Bears versus the...
Yes, the Bears versus the Sharks. They call that one the Q Clash in Queensland.
All right.
For Queensland. They call the Battle of the Bridge in New South Wales. They call the Adelaide versus Port one Showdown.
Oh, I like Showdown.
They call...
It's got a bit of it's Showdown.
It's got a showbiz vibe, which is what you think when you think of Adelaide, the Cabaret Festival, the Fringe Festival.
Adelaide.
Adelaide.
The Garden of Unearthly.
The Garden of Earthly Delights. And then Perth, they call either the Derby or the Derby.
We can never work it out.
Yeah, that's fair. So it's the Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. Don't like your chances, mate. I know you really... I know... I mean, look... I think the wind had blown a different way. It would have gone in our favour, being an Essendon supporter. That was a great game. Really, I can step back and look at that game, and I was, it hurt when they last played Essendon.
Yeah. Yeah.
When GWS last played Essendon, that was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough game for Essendon.
I think they won.
Essendon?
Yeah. At Marvel, yeah.
No. I think look it up. I think you'll be wrong.
I think the last time they played was at Marvel and Essendon won. It was one of the few that they fucking got back. It was in that run. Anyway.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, you might be right, but it was close. Anyway, my point is I think GWS's luck is about to run out.
Oh, very interesting.
I think we're going to see Sydney show what they're properly capable of. I think GWS has been bluffing. Sorry, Tom. I don't know. Have they been?
Zach thinks I barrack for GWS.
Oh, yeah, no, he's Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah,
Same
close,
difference.
close. Yeah,
same
same difference.
cynical shit.
And then on that note, Zachary, thank you so much for coming in. What's the movie next Friday? Shaolin.
No!
Kung
It's
Fu
Shaolin
Hustle.
Kung
If you're
Fu
a footy
Hustle.
fan, come down.
No, people like both. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a rare person that doesn't like both. Come down to Kung Fu Hustle. It's a very good film.
And what's
Very,
Mission
very
Zach doing these days? What are we
good.
doing?
We're fucking.
We're fucking. They're fucking.
Mish are fucking. You heard it.
And then also watching movies.
That's the hot goss. Don't tell Mish's boyfriend.
We're doing
Then
2
Leguizamo.
episodes a week. On Tuesday, we just chat shit. On Thursday, we review a movie by John Leguizamo.
Still log. They only do.
But that's on Thursday. So on Thursday, that's our favourite character. That would be like, who's your favourite? Just not star player in
Jack Watts.
Yeah, that would be like watching every game with a Jack Watts
reviewing
focus.
Fuck
That would be a fun
No,
podcast.
that sounds like
That's
hell.
behind the paywall. That's your Patreon.
Sitting and
That's our
watching
Patreon,
Jack
yeah.
Watts video.
How many games do you reckon you played? 150?
Yeah,
that could be
up there.
3
That's
years of
about the
content.
same amount as films as John Leguizamo, our favourite
Unlistenable.
actor.
Truly would be unlistenable.
But Tuesday is just Mission Zach talking shit. There's no
That
real
sounds
structure.
fun.
And Tom's often there.
What's
Yeah.
the most recent John Leguizamo film that you watched?
Oh.
Or have you banked a bunch?
You did House of Buggin', which was interesting. Broden would like it.
House
yeah, it
of
was a
Buggin'?
sketch show. It was
Yeah,
a sketch
his
show he
sketch
did.
show
Very,
this season,
very
yeah.
similar to In Living Colour.
Oh.
Genuinely quite good.
What network made it?
Same. It was a replacement for In Living Colour when it went away.
Mm.
And very similar. It was like a Latino themed version of that, which is very forward for
Wow.
95.
But yeah, written, directed, starring John.
Genuinely quite funny, like genuinely good sketches.
That's during the boom of like diversity sitcoms and things like that. When there
back
was,
in 95.
Oh, yeah. In Living Colour is a bizarre story.
Yeah?
You know about In Living Colour?
No, when they were
Jamie,
talking about
it's a
the other day,
sketch
I didn't
show predominantly led by African American comedians.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie Foxx is in it. The Wayans are in
Fantastic.
it. The Wayans brothers are in it. And then they cast one white guy
Yeah.
to be like to play
The token white guy.
Token white
guy.
guy, yeah.
Just so happened to be Jim Carrey. So he like
Well, they've all gone to have fantastic careers
Yeah.
at least, but
for the most part, yeah. But Jim Carrey like became this identity of the fucking.
yeah, wow.
He was in The Mask.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
well, this one had Louis Guzman. who I
Lewis
love.
Guzman.
Yeah.
You know
Is he
him.
connected to Guzman Gomez?
No, I don't think so. No.
No, I don't think there's any Mexicans attached
No.
to Guzman Gomez.
This is unfounded and completely fake and what I do on this podcast, but I think Guzman Gomez is owned by a Chicago financey group or something.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes
yeah.
sense. Same as like Betty Burgers is owned by the people that own Virgin.
That's why you get a little Betty Burger sometimes in the lounge.
Yeah.
So do you know that's a Bain Capital, I think?
Yes,
It's
correct.
a finance group.
Yeah.
And do you know who that is?
No.
Fucking Mitt Romney, I think.
Very interesting.
Who is a Massachusetts guy, but is a Mormon. So there's Salt Lake City connections. I don't have enough information anymore.
We could riff on it
good.
though, you know.
Yeah, this is good.
This is but no, Mission Zack, the Mission Zack podcast talking about our favourite character actor is the true refraction of Auntie Donna between Mission Zack and this, and then whatever the fuck Mark's doing.
I say it's the sister podcast of the Footy with Broden Kelly.
Sister, very much so.
When I search Mitt Romney and Bain Capital, it kind of connect a little bit. So
Okay, cool.
I feel comfortable.
I love
He's
it.
probably
I
on the
think
board or
it's good.
something, right? Yeah.
So Mitt Romney owns Betty's Burgers, is what I'm saying, and
down.
Virgin
That's
Australia.
I love that. Yeah.
Concrete.
Zach, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate
Hey,
it.
thank you so much, and can't wait to see the grand final.
Yeah. Would you watch it?
Me?
Yeah. Goodbye.
No, not no.